Hey, it's Vernon McClellan. I'm an actor, director, producer, world Kung Fu champion, former MMA fighter, and everything else in between. But you can call me Ben the Gentleman. Let's rock. Hey guys, it's nice to see all of you again. I'm hanging out in the United States right now and just having a very nice time. My next destination is going to be Singapore. Then I'm headed off to China and then Japan for a little while. But I've been having a very nice journey. Thank you guys so much. So I'd like to explain to you guys a little bit more about this experiment I want to do on YouTube. Actually, the reason why I want to do it is because of something called the Stanford Prison Experiment. And if you guys don't know what the Stanford Prison Experiment is, I'm just going to give you a brief description. It was a experiment that was done in I think it's the 1970s, and the goal was to take a group of students, divide them, and to ask some students to be guards and some students to be prisoners. This study has been used for many years to show that people who are given power and anonymity cannot control their desire to become evil or to do malicious things to people. And of course, while that is an amazing study and it has been cited thousands of times in literature, I had a problem with it because I felt like the conditions that were used to get the students to do this experiment was not exactly without coercion. And one of the things that I found that could have been or might have been a flaw in this experiment was that students were basically told to be malicious to other students. The guards were asked to be more cruel and harmful to the prisoners, which in my opinion, that is somewhat tampering with the goal of the experiment, because you want to put people in an environment, ask them to be neutral and say, hey, what happens, happens. It would have been much more to the benefit of the experiment to have a goal of reform. If I were running that experiment, I would have said to the guards, okay, we're going to do an experiment in two ways. We're going to try to reform students. That means to try and utilize methods of psychology, support, and kindness, and maybe even a little tough love, but to reform them into well-functioning and capable human beings. And then to have another group and say, okay, let's be sadistic, let's use brutal methods to try and control their behavior. I think that there should have been a division on those lines. Instead, we only got a one-sided look at being a prison guard or a COO, which is basically be as cruel and brutal to the prisoners as possible and try to break them down. And I was never a big fan of that because dealing for myself, I've been a mentor, I've dealt with troubled students. I had a job where my goal was to help students that didn't come from necessarily good backgrounds, and my goal was to help them become better citizens, better people, better students. And one of my methods was to deal with their personal problems, give them good habits, sometimes use a little tough love, but to listen to them, to understand them, and to try and give them patterns of behavior that were conducive towards being a better, more well-functioning human being, especially in school or outside of school. I still mentor today. I still spend a lot of time helping people to deal with issues. I do not consider myself to be an expert in that field, but I have had some success with working with people. And I thought that if the goal of the Stanford Prison Experiment was to show that people can be malicious if given power, I don't know if that was the best way to do that. I think that a better experiment would be to not coerce, not tell people to be malicious, but to give people a sense of power and see what they do. And there is someone who does that. His name is Vsauce. I have a link to his video down below. And it's very interesting. In his experiment, not only does he question the Stanford Prison Experiment, but he also shows that when you give people power and you don't coerce them to just do malicious behavior, you just give people power. If people test highly for things such as benevolence, ethics, empathy, especially on the exam called the Big Five, which I think everyone should take, you'll know a lot about your character, but a lot of people, they don't resort to evil, maliciousness, and so on and so on. So if you have time, I would love for you to look at the video at the bottom, because I think it is an important experiment and I think it shows a lot about human society. Another issue I have with the Stanford Prison Experiment is pulling people to the side and saying, you're not malicious enough, you're not rude enough, you need to go harder. I think that you can also argue that the students, they thought that they were doing something overall good because they were told this is for the good of science, this is an experiment that's going to help us to understand how prisoners are treated in prison. And maybe in their mind they've also said, maybe by mistreating these people we could show the world that this is the wrong way. And I'm not saying that is what most students were thinking in that experiment, but it's hard to even argue that they were just becoming purely evil. It could have been that they were motivated by positive intentions, positive goals, but that motivation was misused. And I think that is one aspect of the Stanford Prison Experiment that we should actually explore more. What happens when you say to someone, hey, this is for the better good, but then you take their behavior and actions and you pervert them toward the wrong intended goal. And I think we can see that sometimes in society. I think that not every bad, so-called quote-unquote bad person is necessarily someone who thinks they're doing something wrong. And it could be someone that is smarter, more manipulative, telling this person, you should do this behavior. And in reality, this person is being misled. I think that happens quite a bit. You see that with soldiers, you see that in politics, you see that in film, you see that in the entertainment industry, where people, they sometimes think they're doing the right thing, but they're actually being misled, or they think they're doing the right thing and it may not necessarily be what the right thing should be in that situation. And of course, there are some people who, no matter what you tell them, they'll just say, screw this experiment. I don't care if the outcome, the greater good, whatever, I'm not going to be malicious to anyone. There's got to be a better way to do this. But not everyone will think about that. And, conformity is something that is not easy to fight against, especially when everyone around you is saying, well, this is for the betterment of whatever, okay? So there's a third experiment that I want to do, and I want to do it with you guys. My experiment is, what if we were to take a subject and instead of coercing that subject to be cruel, malicious, and towards a desired goal, what if we were to take a subject and say, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to have guards, or we're going to have controllers, and their goal is to reform this person into the best person he or she can be. And that means, giving them positive suggestions that they should follow in their daily life. It could be something as simple as getting up early every day. It could be something as simple as change your diet. It could be something as simple as do 100 push-ups a day. Whatever people feel is something that is going to ultimately make this person into a better person. And the person who is the subject has to, for the most part, follow those suggestions. Now, I want you guys, the commentators on my video, to be essentially the person of power. Meaning that every 2 weeks, I want you guys to give me suggestions, and the top voted comments, or the top liked comments, are the comments that I will try to implement. Now, I can't implement everyone's comment because I only have so many hours in a day. So I'm going to probably try and go for the top 2 or 3. I'm hoping to start with the top 2 comments and try to videotape my live of doing these suggestions. So if you guys suggest me to run every morning, or if you guys suggest me to just smile more, I'll try and do that, and I'll give you guys some feedback on how that affected my life. Not only that, but over time you guys will get to know a little bit more about my life, a little bit more about me as a person, and maybe over time you'll be able to give me even better suggestions. Now, there are some rules. Number one, our goal is to make me ultimately into a better person at the end of a year to 3 years, depending on how long the experiment goes. I cannot do anything that is going against me becoming a better person. That means I can't do something that is illegal, harmful, malicious, or anything that would make me into, let's say, an evil or worse person. Now, there is a little asterisk there. If you feel that I'm in a situation, or you feel that there's something that ultimately does go against the grain, against the rules, but it's the right thing to do, then that is something I would normally have to do. If someone is breaking this rule, I do have the ability to say I can't do that because that is not essentially making me a better human being, a better person, a more empathetic, altruistic, whatever person. Number two, I have to at least try the comments. I can't just say, oh, I'm tired, I don't want to do this. In the span of 2 weeks, I at least have to do it and maintain it and give you guys some feedback. I'll probably at some point give myself like a little level up chart. You know, maybe I've leveled up in my charisma, or I've leveled up in my physicality. Whatever you guys think. You guys might focus on fitness, or you might focus on tire, whatever. Or you might focus on my character. Just anything that you guys think will make me a better person. There's a number three, there is a power dynamic, which is basically if I decide I'm not going to take any suggestions, I'm just going to say, screw you guys, I don't want to do any of this, then I'm going to delete this entire experiment. The experiment, everything I've done, all the videos I made related to this will be deleted. And if I'm really a jerk, I might just even delete the whole channel, you know. So it is important and imperative for me to follow this and try to improve myself over time. Now there is a number four. Number four is we have to do things within reason. Of course, in the Stanford Prison Experiment, you know, the guards cannot grab people and say, go and fly like Superman. That is, you know, impossible physically, and in other ways, I don't see how that can work. But you can work with me within my given environment. Now, I'm going to tell you, I am not able to get on a plane and fly to Vietnam and feed all the poor children or something like that, okay? No offense to Vietnam, I'm just saying any country, I can't. So we're going to start with practical suggestions, practical things. And as my channel grows over the year or 2 years, 3 years, if I start doing better for myself, then we can even go to even, you know, better, bigger, larger orders, challenges that are ultimately, again, going to make me a better person, the best person I can be, and ultimately make me a good person. Because some people might look at the idea of a better person in very weird objective or subjective ways. So what I mean by a better person, I mean a better empathetic, altruistic, good human being, and someone who is improving in his life as well. So that is to try and make me a more well-rounded person. And it doesn't have to be huge things to do that. It could be something as simple as go and do charity every week. Donate to some cause. You know, work on a piece of music. Do something interesting. And my goal is to, in 2 weeks, try and figure out how to do that. And number 5, there's a room for me to fail. I'm going to try 100% every challenge that's given to me that is voted to the top. But of course, I'm human. If a tree falls on my car, if my house catches on fire, if weird things happen, I'm unable to do it, I'll definitely explain what happened. But my goal is, if I give someone power and I do the opposite, and I coerce them and say, why don't you try to reform me, make someone better, focus on on making someone a more positive person, a better person, what would that look like? How would that work? And if someone was receptive to that, what would come out of that? So that is something that I hope to do with you guys. Now, how is this experiment? When is this experiment going to work? Basically, I will collect suggestions every 2 weeks, and during those 2 weeks, I'm going to do those suggestions. And at the end of 2 weeks, I'm going to tell you guys what my results are. So show you guys a video, what I did, how it affected my life. And at the same time, every 2 weeks, I'm going to collect new suggestions. So you guys can say to me, just keep doing it. Keep doing what you're doing, and I'll just keep doing it. And however, if you guys say, hey, maybe drop this and try doing something else, I'll do that. Of course, I'm a human being. I don't know if I can do 1,000 suggestions at the same time. So I'm going to probably ask you guys, should I continue doing this? And should I add this? Should I drop this? Let me know how it goes. And I'll try to balance most things. And if I finish a challenge or I finish a positive suggestion, you're free to give me new things to try. And if you just want me to keep going on the same suggestion, I'll keep going. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun. And let's see if I give my YouTube commenters power, how far can I go? If I take the positive suggestions of people around me and I listen to them and I try them, how far can I go in a year's time, right? And if I can survive a year, how far and where will I be in 3 years' time? Now, to give you guys, before we begin, we're gonna close out pretty soon, but to give you guys a little bit of background about myself, I make films, nothing super special, but I usually work behind the scenes. I often do writing, sometimes production, and sometimes I do acting, coaching, directing, and here and there. I'm also a music artist. I make music with all different kinds of people all the time. I'm a fighter. I practice boxing, MMA, martial arts, Chinese Kung Fu, and hope to share more about that with you guys later. And I also do a lot of things. I also do artwork. I do a lot of interesting stuff. I like volunteering. I like helping people. I'm mostly a pretty well-meaning person. I'm not hugely attracted to money and power and fame. I just love living life, and I have a gentlemanly demeanor. I love a nice suit, and I love just being super positive most of the time. So that is pretty much all you need to know about me. And if you are interested in this experiment, then catch me every 2 weeks.